Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Captain America Sentinel of Liberty issue 12. Yeah, look at that cover. And this kind of scenario pretty much happens out in this issue, and it definitely is interesting because Nat is not happy with how Bucky has been acting lately. So let's kind of jump into this. So, we get back to our Caps and Misty and Sharon as they're pretty much trying to figure out what the situation is. Sam pretty much given a bird's eye view of that the monsters are pouring out the Dimension Z portal. There's dead militia and a ring around it, but the outer circle keeps sending more. And there's a blizzard rolling in, so everybody's pretty much gearing up, getting ready for what's to come. Misty's like, at least we know that the camo is going to work. And Sharon's like, at least the bat's going to work too. She boosted it with some extra Neganite from the Frox. 0 kickback, so the wood should be able to take it. Let's see. Doesn't matter. They're going to go boom. We don't have any time to lose, folks. Bucky took my son. He's asking for a fight. And he's right. That's probably... I mean, granted, it was probably enough to get the whole Dimension Z worked out with White Wolf, but I also think that Bucky did it to get Steve into a certain kind of position and also to protect Ian. I think how they're kind of going, so let's kind of see it. As we see them geared up, let's go give them one. And then, of course, we see that the blizzards are really kind of affecting things. And that Sam and Misty have a plan for that. Misty's like, it's mostly the bird. And then Sam pretty much gives interesting bird logic and facts about the White Willow ptarmigans? Ptarmigans. Yeah, or the Pride of Alaska. That's funny. She's like, you don't have to tell me what I gotta do. As they pretty much start using kind of sonar radar kind of ping from the bird that she got from like this aberrant crimes unit that she like works with. And then of course they see that it's a slaughter. Steve's able to kind of see it. And that the new tide, they're off the field until the outer circle calls in their next wave. If they don't move now, window to get to the they'd pretty much have a worse kind of shot because then the forces will be doing battle over the portal. And then, of course, Sam tries to stop him to pretty much get a kind of field check on how Steve is actually doing. That they know that they're walking into a trap. Bucky knows what he did, and it's got to be a setup. And Steve's like, it really doesn't matter. Run it down. We wait, and White Wolf fills this whole valley, maybe the state, with monsters. And then, of course, Sam's like, you're changing the subject. White Wolf's a threat. Sam knows that better than anyone. He's asking if he's ready to go back to that place where you're trapped in Dimension Z with Ian for more than a decade. As Steve's kind of taking that into account and then just going forward with it as well. It's like, well, okay, guess we're putting that on ice for now as they start flying away. And then we pretty much get to the outer circle, pretty much having their powwow on their ship thing. My dearest power and most humble money, I must say, I've not seen you this embarrassed this badly since Cuba. And, like, the Power's trying to, like, do a comeback, but he's so injured that he can't really do the retort, and even the rest of them's like, oh, you could go toe-to-toe with Captain America, but a clever retort drives you to terribly manly tears. And then, of course, talking about how the Cold War with money was played too soon. Fortunov, Rogers and Wilson are here. The revolution of Zola's monsters. Your wounds are still fresh, and you're no closer to victory. Oh, what do either of you know about victory? Talking about how the money and the power handily had won the 20th century. We didn't talk, we built, but now, look at us, pathetic. No star points left, exposed, disarmed. Our portfolio is underperforming. Reinvestment is crucial. Would you like to know what isn't? And it's interesting because he's been talking very softly throughout this, which I think is effective to be like him shouting at them, your fucking opinion, pretty much, as they then drop off. So then we see that they decide to do their own kind of thing. Clearing the room. He says he got carried away. I just very much want to watch them bleed. You and me both. A tiny I think so. How you'd pardon my pronunciation on that. Of course, they want the revolution's blood. They say power wants some consolidation. The money, all remaining tithe forces to the portal, single unified strike, move 27. Power will do the same. They're invading Dimension Z. Let's see. Invading Dimension Z, kidnapping Roger's son. There's no space left for a little competition with this new revolution at the table. Honestly, my old friend, I think he might be even more insane than the last one, and that's pretty interesting for them to be like that. So then we switch to Bucky talking with Nat, where Bucky's like, you shouldn't be here, and you shouldn't have a knife to my throat. Not to be rude, but I'm kind of in the middle of something. It's like, isn't anybody really, like, always in the middle of something? And then we switch over to another great movement page for action scenes. Nat being like, you're coming home. This game's got you twisted in circles, and the world is about to burn because of it. And Bucky's like, nobody's burning who doesn't deserve it. And then she rightly brings up Roger Aubrey, and he's trying to say it wasn't him. He swears he tried, and she's pretty much calling him out of control, grasping for things he doesn't understand. And she's like, look closer. And she's like, what, is that an offer? Stay in Dimension Z. You can make sure I don't go too supervillain. I make a step you don't like, it's your move. One condition, as he then has the knife at her throat at the end. You have to trust me. And then he hands the knife to her, and then she says that she will watch him, that she'll always trust Bucky Barnes, but not whoever he's pretending to be as she slices him. And he's like, alright, that's fine. World's made me a different person. Well, he's pretty much like, well, the world's made me a different person. And then Natasha's like, come on, I've said those words, I know the line, that we're never different people. We change our clothes, our hair, our fancy metal arms. We do that. Not the world. We control who we become, as we then see it kind of shifting in to focus on Ian. Then we go back to Dimension Z before, as we see that Steve and Ian are talking about food and like grocery stores, and he just thinks that Ian just thinks that Steve is lying about groceries and saying that like Steve likes to make him feel bad, and Steve's like, am I making you feel bad? Which is a great hallmark, because Steve would, if somebody says that, he's like, am I doing that? And he's like, yes, I mean, you're from this place that has groceries and bodegas and cats that live in the bodegas and cell phones and people. You talk about so many people, but it's not real. And you kind of understand that from Ian's perspective, because he has not experienced anything like that. He doesn't know that they're vastly different other places and worlds. As we then see it interspersed as Steve, Sam, and the rest of his group are fighting the Frogs to get to the Dimension Z portal. Ian being like, it can't be real. You're right, they're not real. They're just stories from a past life. But maybe we can learn from stories, huh? And that's an important thing and a core thing of Steve Rogers and also these superheroes and these myths. Like, yeah, it's kind of meta and whatnot, but it's an important part of Steve too. This is my now, Ian, and it's going to be my tomorrow. And Ian's like, you're not leaving? I'm not leaving you. And Ian's like, good, as they're like going through, bashing through the Frogs, and Sam is watching Steve and trying to understand. And it's really interesting because this is like the opposite of Sam going after White Wolf. Now he's got to watch Steve to make sure that he doesn't go over kind of the edge, like Ian kind of pulled him back as well. And then Ian's like, tell me about ice cream when he's young. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. And then, of course, Sam's trying to call him out, and Steve's like, I remember that feeling from Dimension Z, the portal's close. And then, of course, he pretty much gets to him. He's like, I've never been a father. I don't know what you're feeling right now. I think that if I were, I would be a living missile, and I wouldn't be tactical, and I wouldn't be making safe choices. And then we see that the shield comes back to Steve, and we see him saying, which is why you'd be smart enough to bring friends. And that's what Steve is doing. It's like, yes, to help him, keep him on track, and make sure he doesn't go nuts. But then, of course, we get a Frogs yelling, ambush, smacking the shit out of both of them. And then Misty being like, we got a surprise, both caps are down and I'm reloading. You think you can take on Big Ugly? Oh, I don't think, I know I do. As she comes swinging in. And granted, that's a great setup page for then this. Crackle, boom, like, that's awesome. And it's a great effective use of, like, black and red and showing off what the Mega Knight can do. And then we see that Sharon's like, you see that, Roger? It's a promise, as she's kind of taking up Roger's kind of ethos and everything as she's trying to do right by him, which is cool. And then I'm just like, wow, okay, next stop, Wonderland. Let's see. And Misty's pretty much like making fun with Sam, being like, this doesn't count as a weekend away, you still owe me. I know you like the scones, Sam, I gotta have the scones. And I'm like, yes, they're important in those kind of getaways. And then of course Sharon can feel it as well. It's like a song or a scream. I know, Zola, except we put Zola down together. This ain't him. No, it's what he left behind, his legacy. And then he's talking about that. We see them actually going in. See, every day in our world is a century in his. This place has been without a master for eons, unchecked and metastasizing. A savage place becoming worse. This isn't the place we left. This is the end, as we see them in Dimension Z, and it's nuts and crazy looking. It's like, wow. It's like, it's cool to be back in this spot. That was an interesting run, Dimension Z. And of course, White Wolf can feel that they're there through the throne, and Bucky's trying to tell him to ignore him. It's an apocalypse. Let the Deathscape do its work. And then White Wolf just calls him a pretty idiot and says that was never going to be an option. And then Bucky's like, going off script would be a mistake. I'm the king of this dimension, Barnes. I don't make mistakes. And I'm like, anybody that thinks like that's a dumbass. And wait until the mistakes come to screw you over. And then, of course, we see kind of like a bomb thing getting ready to blow up. Sharon trying to warn them as it then kabooms. And then it's like, we'll have to see what happens in the next issue. So, this was a pretty decent issue. I liked seeing our group gear up, go through the portal. Sam, I could see how some people could be annoyed that he's trying to talk down Steve, but Sam is just coming off having that kind of tense kind of confrontation with White Wolf, and that he understands that Steve is trying to save his son. And save his son and, like, stop Bucky as well. So Steve has to be careful, and his friends have to be there to help him out and make sure that he's not going off the rails or anything, and to get him back on the track. And I like seeing that side of Sam with this, especially since it's dealing with White Wolf as well. And we just get some really nice kind of tactical ways of dealing with things. The understanding of the dynamics between the Outer Circle players and how they're getting fucking annoyed with the Revolution, and mostly power and money because of all the stuff that they've lost, and that they're gunning for him. And they are going to throw whatever resources they can at him. So that's important to understand how they're understanding this kind of Cold War game and what's kind of going on. And then seeing Natasha actually kind of not side with Bucky, but do the same kind of mirroring with Sam and Steve, but with Nat and Bucky. He's like, listen, if you think I'm going nuts, take me down. Alright? And he understands that kind of need. Now, granted, you would think that he would go with Steve with that kind of thing and to help him out, but the kind of game he's playing, it would definitely make more sense with Nat. Nat would not take that lightly. And just seeing, like, the effective use of, like, the Mega Knight and everything like that, and actually going back to Dimension Z before we leave off, is a nice touch. So I can't wait to see how Dimension Z has changed, what we're kind of going to be going through, and what else is kind of in store for Cold War. So, the next ones we've got will be Symbol of Truth 13, Sentinel of Liberty 13, and Cold War Omega 1. And it definitely sets us up for, like, some crazy kind of stuff going on. So we'll see what happens in the next issues. So, those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.